Idiopathic scoliosis is a genetic condition. Many families that have scoliosis that runs in the family, one or both parents may have it, an aunt or an uncle, a grandmother or grandfather may have it, and it's passed down.
It is on both sides of our family, and when my sister and I were growing up, my mother kind of knew that she had a slight scoliosis and just was watching carefully.
Adolescent idiopathic scoliosis comprises the group from age 10 to 21, and that's by definition, formally. But the group that is most at risk is between 9 and 13. 2 to 3% of adolescents will have idiopathic scoliosis. Of that group, 75 to 80% have small curves that will not progress. The problem is we have not, to date, had a way of predicting who will progress to a surgical range or not. The only way we've been able to figure that out is by observing them over time, taking x-rays, and doing a physical examination. And that's for years in many cases.
When Camille did get into the elementary grades, it was noticeable that she had a similar posture to my own. We followed through with Dr. Lana for about a year. I just happened to bring Isabel with me, and she was sitting in the waiting room reading a book. I never would have thought to make an appointment for her because Isabel has very different posture. But Dr. Lana asked who that little girl was in the waiting room and immediately pulled her in there, and he said, "We have to x-ray her." He did the x-ray and immediately showed us that she had the scoliosis curve and said, "Now we have to really watch Isabel." By the middle of that year, Isabel had had like a 2.5-inch growth spurt. And at that point, Dr. Lana was monitoring her along with Dr. Murphy in his office, because with this growth spurt, there was a big increase in the curvature. So they did recommend the brace.
We see the patients, there's a suggestion of an underlying spinal curvature or deformity. We then get an x-ray, which has been the definitive evidence for scoliosis. Take each patient individually, but if a patient has a curve of 20 degrees to 40 degrees, that's been the range in which we consider bracing.
When Isabel started going to school with the brace, when she initially had to wear it 23 hours a day, her girlfriends, they thought it was pretty cool, actually, for some unknown reason. They gravitated towards her, and they all wanted to see it. They wanted to try it on. They named it Shelley. They all needed to sign it, you know, like it was a cast.
The thought of wearing it at camp was bothering her, you know, because you're in your bathing suit and it's hot and you want to be free in camp. That was the thing we felt worst about.
There is a significant psychological impact of bracing on kids. We see it time and time again, and their families. It is upsetting to them. It's something that is difficult for an adolescent to come to grips with and to be accustomed to.
When I found out that I had to wear the brace, I was like, okay, well, it might not be for that long. And then they told me that it would like all depend on how much it corrects the curve. So then I was just kind of like, okay, well, we have to do it. Like, I don't really have a choice here.
The Rogers family has multiple family members that have scoliosis. We're going to keep an eye on all of them, but we can use this genetic test now in conjunction with the other tests to really give us information that can change the tenor of their adolescent years in large part.
We were told about the SCOLISCORE test, and you know, we felt really lucky that Isabel fit into this category of being able to have the test.
They just handed me a test tube and they were like, here, spit up to the black line. And I was like, oh really, that's gross. I thought it was going to be more, like I thought they were going to be taking like millions of x-rays and stuff, and, like samples of my hair. I thought like this is going to be really creepy. But then it was like a lot easier than I thought it would be.
You know, it wasn't until after all of the results came back that we started to really understand what it was.
The score is between 1 and 200. And if the patient has a score of 50 or less, we know they fall in that very low likelihood of having a progressive curvature. And you're able to give that family some relief by telling them your daughter falls in this low range with 99% accuracy and certainty. We can tell you that she does not have a scoliosis that will be progressive to a surgical range. You change their lives.
Out of 200, the results were 16, which were very low. You know, and it really was some reassurance to say that, you know, the progression of Isabel's curvature was hopefully going to be minimal over the course of her lifetime.
And we use that test in conjunction with the other evaluations, x-ray, patient age, gender, their physical examination. We put all this together. Based on that, we decided to take Isabel out of the brace. We gave her that news just before she went off to summer camp, and it was a great relief for her. It changed her summer.
That made me feel so lucky because then I knew that I wouldn't have to worry about getting around with it. So then I could do like whatever I wanted in camp. I could swim, I could dance, I could just do everything.